Hi, this is Mr. Chandler. Thank you for watching this video on 1.5. Today we're going to look at the fundamental principle of limited government and how that principle is protected by both the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We talked about limited government quite a bit in the last few units. Remember, limited government is when the government doesn't have complete power over the people, where their power is in fact limited. We discussed that with the colonists and how the colonists believe they have limited government from the Magna Carta, the English Bill of Rights, and the rule of law, and then on into the Americans with the Articles of Confederation and so on. The reason for limited government is that we don't want the government to get too powerful. The government must be controlled so it can't take away our rights. The Constitution puts specific limits on that power of the national government. Like I said, we've discussed this quite a bit in the last few units, and I'm going to talk about it again today just to reiterate some of those important points. Sovereignty is an important idea when we're talking about limited government. Basically, sovereignty means where does the government get its authority from? Under the Articles of Confederation, the government got its authority from the state, and the state had more power. Under the Constitution, the people have the sovereignty or the authority. It is very important to understand what sovereignty is and where the government gets its power from as we continue to discuss the Constitution. Another important concept to limited government is republicanism. That's where voters elect people who then go make decisions for them, and they elect people to Congress. The example is that as the House of Representatives, where they elected members to serve for them every 2 years. They're really worried that the people are not smart enough to make decisions on their own, and so that's why they indirectly elected senators, and that's why the president is elected through the Electoral College rather than a direct election. And then the judges are also not elected either. The Electoral College is important to remember because that's still how we elect the president today. The people do not directly elect the president, rather we elect representatives who then go and vote for the president for us, and that still is the case today. In writing the Constitution, the founders set up another form of limited government, which is called federalism, and that means that the national government is given certain powers that are very specific. Other powers are given to the states, and then other powers reside with the people. The important part of federalism is that it splits the power of the government. That's a very, very important concept to understand. Another way the founders created limited government was by dividing power among the three branches of government. The executive, which is the president who carries out the laws, the legislative, which is Congress, which makes the laws, and the judicial branch, which then interprets the laws, and that's the court systems. The legislative branch is also further divided into two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the House of Representatives was given the exclusive right to set taxes. And that's important to understand because that's, if you go back to the Magna Carta, the people believed that they should be consulted when levying taxes. And since the House of Representatives is elected every 2 years, then that is why they were given the power to initiate new tax bills. In order to make sure no branch of the government got too powerful, the founders put checks and balances in place. And these were powers that each branch had over another branch. And like I said, it was because they didn't want them to get too much power. For instance, the legislative branch can pass laws, but then the president can veto those laws. And then the Congress can then override those vetoes if they have a big majority. The executive can make treaties, but only the Senate can ratify them. And the judiciary and the executive branch, which is the president, can be impeached by the legislative branch if they do something wrong. These were all put in place to make sure that no branch got too powerful. Another way they limited the government was by putting a Bill of Rights into the Constitution as the first 10 amendments. This was done to get the Anti-Federalists to agree to the Constitution and to help get national support for the Constitution. In there, the national government is limited from infringing on people's rights, like the freedom of speech, religion, assembly, press, the right to bear arms, protection against unfair trials and unreasonable search and seizures, a lot of the rights that we enjoy and need today. That concludes section 1.5. Thank you very much for listening as we talked about how government power is limited through the Constitution. A lot of those terms are very, very important. You'll certainly see them on the test, like federalism, republicanism, sovereignty. Please go to Edmodo to take the quiz, and then also turn your notes guide in there as well.